Hello, my friends. Welcome back to English Unleashed. In this episode, we will talk about a very important question. Why do we learn? Why do we work? Why do we practice every day? And what really motivates us to continue, even when learning is hard? Today, we will start a new journey with a famous book called Drive. The book is written by Daniel Pink. This book is about motivation, the reason why you do something. For example, why do you study English? Why do you wake up early to practice? Why do you listen to podcasts, read books, and try again after mistakes? Many people think motivation comes from money or scores or rewards. But this book shows something very interesting. Often, rewards do not help us. Sometimes rewards can even make learning worse. So, in this episode, I will talk about the old idea of motivation and why it does not work well anymore. We will also connect this to language learning, because learning a language is one of the best examples of real motivation. Let's begin. For a long time, people believed in a very simple idea. This idea is called reward and punishment. If you do something good, you get a reward. If you do something bad, you get a punishment. For example, if a student gets good marks, the teacher gives praise or a gift. If a student gets bad marks, the teacher gives a low grade or criticism. In work, if you work hard, you get more money. If you work badly, you lose your job. This system is very old. It comes from factories, from simple jobs, from machines. In those jobs, people did very simple activities. They repeated the same action again and again. For example, putting one part on a machine or packing boxes. In these jobs, reward and punishment worked quite well. If you worked faster, you earned more. If you worked slowly, you were punished. The system was simple. But the author, Daniel Pink, says something important. The world has changed. Work has changed. Learning has changed. And motivation must also change. Today, many jobs are not simple. They need thinking. They need creativity. They need problem solving. And language learning is exactly like this. Learning English is not like pushing a button. You must think. You must choose words. You must make sentences. You must understand meaning. You must make mistakes and correct them. This kind of learning is not mechanical. And here is the key idea. When a task needs thinking and creativity, external rewards often make performance worse. External means outside you. This sounds strange, but many experiments show this. Let me tell you a simple story. In one experiment, people were given a puzzle. The puzzle was interesting. Many people enjoyed doing it. One group did the puzzle for free. Another group was paid money to do the puzzle. At first, both groups worked well, but later something strange happened. When the money stopped, the paid group lost interest. They lost motivation. They stopped enjoying the puzzle. The free group continued because they liked it. The reward changed the reason. Before, people did the puzzle because it was interesting. After, they did it only for money. When the money stopped, the motivation disappeared. Now, this is very important for language learning. Imagine two students. Student A studies English because she wants to speak with people. She wants to travel. She wants to read books. She enjoys learning. Student B studies English only for an exam, only for a score, only for a certificate. At first, both may study hard. But after the exam, what happens? Very often, student B stops. She forgets. She loses interest. Student A continues because her reason is inside. This is the main message of this chapter. There are two kinds of motivation. One kind comes from outside. This is called external motivation. For example, you study for money. You study for a score. You study to avoid punishment. The other kind comes from inside. This is called internal motivation. For example, you study because you enjoy it. You study because you want to improve. You study because it is meaningful to you. Now, Daniel Pink says that for simple tasks, external motivation can work. But for learning, creativity, and thinking, internal motivation is much stronger. Now let's look at language learning again. If you learn English for a test, you will study short term. You will memorize words. You will pass the test. But after that, you may stop. You may forget. You may lose confidence. But if you learn English because you want to speak, you want to connect, and because you want to grow, something changes. You practice more. You are patient with mistakes. You listen more. You continue even without a teacher or a test. This is why many students fail after school. They had many rewards and punishments, but they never built internal motivation. They never learned to enjoy learning itself. Daniel Pink gives another important idea. Rewards can sometimes reduce quality. When people focus too much on the reward, they stop thinking deeply. They choose the easiest way. They avoid difficult activities. They avoid mistakes. But learning a language needs mistakes. You must try. You must speak badly first. You must sound wrong. If you are afraid of losing points, you will not speak. If you are afraid of a low score, you will stay silent. This is one of the biggest problems in language classrooms. Students are afraid. They want a good mark. They do not want to look stupid. So, they do not speak. They do not practice. And without practice, there is no progress. So, what should we do? Daniel Pink does not say rewards are always bad. He says we must use them carefully. We must not use them to control learning. We must use them to support learning. In language learning, this means something very simple. Do not study only for marks. Do not study only for exams. Do not study only to please others. Study because you want to become a new person, a person who can speak another language, a person who can understand another culture, a person who can think in a new way. This is the beginning of real motivation. All right, another big idea from the book is called autonomy. Autonomy means freedom. It means the power to choose. It means control over your own life. Daniel Pink says something very simple but very important. Human beings do not like to be controlled. We like to choose. We like to decide. We like to feel that our life is our own. And when we have more autonomy, we work better. We learn better. We feel happier. Now, let's think about a very simple example. Imagine two students. Student A studies English because her teacher tells her to. The teacher chooses the book. The teacher chooses the time. The teacher chooses the method. The teacher tells her what to do every minute. Student B studies English by herself. She chooses the podcast. She chooses the time. She chooses the topics. She decides how long to study. Who will learn better? In most cases, student B. Not because she is smarter, but because she has autonomy. She feels the learning is her own. She feels responsible. She feels free. Now, the author explains that in many companies, managers control everything. They tell workers when to work, how to work, what to do. They check every small detail. They believe control makes people work better. But many experiments show the opposite. When people have no control, they lose energy. They lose interest. They only do the minimum. They wait for orders. They stop thinking. But when people have autonomy, something changes. They take responsibility. They try new ideas. They care more about quality. They work not because they must, but because they want to. Now, let's bring this to language learning. Many students learn English in a very controlled way. The teacher decides everything. The book is fixed. The speed is fixed. The exam is fixed. The topic is fixed. The student only follows. This system can work for beginners, but after some time, it becomes a problem. The student becomes passive. Passive means not active. He waits for the teacher. He waits for the homework. He waits for correction. He does not learn how to learn. This is really important. He does not learn how to learn. But real language learning needs autonomy. Let me give you a personal example. Imagine you decide to improve your listening. You choose a podcast. You choose the level. You choose the time every day. You listen while walking. You repeat sentences. You enjoy the voice. This is autonomous learning. Now imagine another situation. Your teacher gives you a long audio. You do not like the topic. You do not understand the speed. You listen only because you must. You count the minutes. Which one will help you more, do you think? Of course, the first one, because autonomy creates ownership. Ownership means you feel the learning belongs to you. Now, Daniel Pink talks about 4 areas of autonomy. He says people want control over their activities, their time, their technique, and their team. Now, let's explain this in simple language for learners. Activity means what you do. In language learning, this means, do you read stories or news? Do you listen to podcasts or videos? Do you practice speaking or writing? When you can choose your activities, you feel more motivated. Time means when you do it. Some people learn better in the morning, some in the evening, some like short sessions, some like long sessions. If you choose your time, learning becomes easier. Now, technique means how you do it. Some people like reading aloud. Some like writing a diary. Some like flashcards. There is no one best method. The best method is the one you choose and continue. Team means who you learn with. Some people like to learn alone. Some like a partner. Some like a group. Some like an online teacher. When you choose your team, you feel safe. You feel comfortable. Now let's look at a very common problem. Many students say, I have no motivation. But often, the real problem is, I have no autonomy. They do not choose. They only follow. They only obey. They do not feel free. And without freedom, motivation dies. Let me tell you a story from language classrooms. In one class, the teacher controls everything. The students repeat sentences. They do exercises. They wait for correction. After 1 year, they pass the exam, but they cannot speak. In another class, the teacher gives freedom. Students choose topics. They bring their own stories. They choose videos. They choose projects. After 1 year, their grammar may not be perfect, but they speak. They are confident. they continue learning after the course. This is the power of autonomy. And the author says something very strong. Control makes people behave. Autonomy makes people engage. Let me say that again. Control makes people behave. Autonomy makes people engage. Engage means you care. Behave means you only follow rules. When you engage, you think, you try, you improve. Learning a language needs engagement. You must care about meaning. You must care about communication. You must care about your own progress. This cannot come from control. It must come from autonomy. Now, let's talk about a very important habit for autonomous learners. This habit is called self-direction. That's a big word, so let me define it. Self-direction means you direct yourself. You are your own teacher. You plan. You choose. You check. You correct. You continue. For example, you decide every day I will listen to 20 minutes of English. Every day I will learn 5 new words. Every day I will speak for 10 minutes. No one forces you. You choose. This creates a very strong feeling. This feeling is called agency. Agency means you feel you can act. You feel you are not a victim. You are the driver. And this feeling is very important for long-term learning. Many students stop learning because they feel powerless. They say, I am bad at languages. I have no talent. I am too old. But often, the real problem is simple. They never learned how to take control. They always waited for teachers, books, and exams. So Daniel Pink says, autonomy does not mean chaos. It does not mean no rules. It means freedom with responsibility. In language learning, this means you are free to choose, but you are responsible to continue. You are free to make mistakes, but you are responsible to correct them. You are free to change methods, but you are responsible to practice every day. At the end of this chapter, Daniel Pink gives us a clear message. If you want motivated learners, do not control them more. Give them more autonomy. If you want to improve your English, do not wait for perfect courses. Do not wait for perfect teachers. Start choosing. Choose your materials. Choose your time. Choose your method. Choose your goals. Because when learning becomes your choice, not your duty, something powerful happens. You stop asking, what does the teacher want? You start asking, what do I want to become? And that is the true beginning of mastery. In the next part, we will talk about mastery. We will talk about practice. Practice and why slow progress is the key to real success. Okay, so the next idea from this book is called mastery. Mastery means becoming very good at something. It means improving slowly, step by step. It means not stopping after the first success. It means loving the process, not only the result. Daniel Pink says something very important. Human beings have a natural desire to improve. Let me say that again. Human beings have a natural desire to improve. We want to get better. We want to grow. We want to master skills. This is true for music. This is true for sports. And this is very true for language learning. Now, let's think about how people learn a language. At the beginning, everything is difficult. You cannot understand. You cannot speak. You make many mistakes. You feel slow. You feel stupid. But if you continue, something changes. You can understand more. You speak more. You feel progress. This feeling is very powerful. It is the feeling of mastery. Now, Daniel Pink explains that mastery is not fast. It is not easy. It is not exciting every day. It is slow. It is sometimes boring. It is sometimes painful. But it is deeply satisfying. Let me give you a simple example from language learning. Imagine you are learning pronunciation. At first, you cannot hear the difference between two sounds. For example, ship and sheep. You say both the same. Your teacher corrects you. You try again. You fail again. After 1 week, you still make mistakes. After 1 month, you start to hear the difference. After 3 months, you say it correctly. This is mastery. It does not come in 1 day. It comes from deliberate practice. Deliberate practice means practice with attention, not just repeating, but repeating with a goal. Repeating with feedback. Repeating with correction. Many learners practice a lot, but they do not improve. Why? Because they practice without thinking. They listen, but they do not notice. They speak, but they do not correct. They read, but they do not reflect. Mastery needs focused practice. And Daniel Pink, the author, says mastery has 3 important qualities. First, mastery is a mindset. Mindset means a way of thinking. A mastery mindset means you believe, I can improve. I am not finished. Mistakes help me learn. This is very important in language learning. Many learners think, I am bad at English. I have no talent. I will never speak well. This mindset, this way of thinking, kills mastery. But a mastery mindset says, I am not good yet, but I can become better. With time and practice, I will improve. This small change in thinking changes everything. Second, mastery is a painful process. This is very honest. Learning is not always fun. Sometimes it is boring. Sometimes it is frustrating. Sometimes you feel stuck. In language learning, there is a very famous problem. After some months, progress becomes slow. At the beginning, you'll learn fast. Every day, new words, every week, new grammar. But later, progress becomes invisible. You cannot see it. You study, but you feel the same. This is called the plateau. Plateau means a long, flat period. You do not see progress. Many learners stop here. They say, I'm working hard, but I'm not improving. But the author says something very important. The plateau is not failure. The plateau is part of mastery. In this period, your brain is building deep skills. Even if you do not see progress, it is happening. If you continue, one day, suddenly, you improve. This is why patience is one of the most important skills in language learning. The third part of mastery is that mastery is a never-ending journey. This is very beautiful. Mastery has no final point. Even native speakers continue learning. Even teachers continue improving. Even writers continue making mistakes. In language learning, there is no moment when you say, I'm finished. There is always a new word. There is always a new expression. There is always a new style of writing. And this is not a problem. This is the joy of mastery. Now let's talk about goals. Many students have one big goal. I want to be fluent. But this is too big. This is too broad. This is too general. It is too far and it is unclear. Mastery works better with small goals. For example, today I will learn 5 new words. This week, I will improve my listening. This month, I will speak more confidently. Small goals give small wins. Small wins give motivation. And motivation keeps mastery alive. Okay, now let's talk about the next idea. Purpose. Purpose means a clear reason for what you do. It means knowing why you work, why you learn, and why you continue, even when things are difficult. The author says something very interesting. People do not work well only for money. People do not learn well only for scores. People work and learn better when they feel that what they do is meaningful. Meaningful means it has value. It helps others. It helps the world. It helps you become a better person. Now, let's think about language learning again. Why do you learn English? Some people say, I learn English to get a better job. I learn English to pass an exam. I learn English because my school tells me to. These are not bad reasons, but they are not deep reasons. They are external reasons. They come from outside, but purpose comes from inside. A deeper reason sounds like this. I learn English because I want to speak with people from other countries. I learn English because I want to understand the world better. I learn English because I want to change my life. When you have a deep reason, learning becomes different. You do not study only for today. You study for your future self. Now, the author gives many examples from companies and organizations. He shows that people work harder and better when they feel their work has a purpose. For example, a cleaner in a hospital can think, I only clean floors. Or she can think, I help sick people recover in a clean and safe place. The job is the same, but the meaning is different. And when meaning is different, motivation becomes stronger. Now let's bring this idea to language learning. A student can think, I only learn grammar rules. Or she can think, I am building a new voice for myself in another language. A student can think, I only listen to boring audios. Or she can think, I am training my brain to understand the world in a new way. When you connect learning to a bigger purpose, practice becomes easier. Even boring exercises become meaningful because you know why you are doing them. Daniel Pink explains that purpose has three important parts. First, purpose is about contribution. Contribution means helping others. Many people think learning is only personal, but language learning is also social. When you speak English better, you can help your family, help your colleagues, help your students, help your children. For example, imagine a mother who learns English. At first, she studies only for herself, but later, she helps her child with homework. She speaks to teachers. She reads school messages. Her learning now has a purpose. It helps another person. This makes her motivation much stronger. Second, purpose is about values. Values are things that are important to you. For example, freedom, education, respect, and connection. When learning English matches your values, you feel stronger. For example, if you value education, learning English becomes part of your identity. You do not say, I study English. You say, I am a learner. This changes how you see yourself, and how you see yourself changes how you act. Third, purpose is about a long-term vision. Vision means a picture of your future. Not tomorrow, not next week, but 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Let me give you an example. Imagine two learners. Learner A says, I want to pass this exam this year. Learner B says, I want to become a confident international speaker in 5 years. Both study, but learner B studies with a different energy because every small lesson is connected to a big future. When you have a long-term vision, short-term problems become smaller. A bad day does not stop you. A mistake does not break you because you know where you are going. And now, before we finish this episode, let's take a quiet moment together. In this episode, I talked about many ideas. I talked about rewards and fear. I talked about freedom and choice. I talked about slow practice and patience. I talked about meaning and purpose. But behind all these ideas, there is one simple message. Real learning does not come from pressure. It does not come from scores. It does not come from fear. Real learning comes from inside. It comes when you choose to learn. It comes when you accept slow progress. It comes when you know why this journey is important to you. If you are learning English, remember this. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to be fast. You only need to be consistent. A little practice every day is stronger than big effort once a month. A few minutes of listening every day is stronger than long study hours only before exams. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of English Unleashed. You can also share this podcast with a friend who is learning English. And if you would like more slow, clear podcasts about learning, habits, and personal growth, you can subscribe to the channel and continue this journey with me. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep learning, and remember, you are not only learning English, you are building your future. Bye for now.